yoga class focusing on hamstring strength. Hamstring strengthening is really important for anyone who practices yoga to do. In yoga, we focus a lot on stretching the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, but there is essentially no work in yoga to strengthen this part of the body. So it is really important to set aside some time to focus on this specific part of the body and strengthening it. So let's begin lying on our back, and we'll work with some variations of bridge pose. Knees are bent up towards the ceiling, soles of the feet are planted down onto the mat. Lift the hips up high when you feel ready, pressing into the feet to lift up. And here in your bridge pose, think about dragging your feet in towards your body, closer towards you, rather than out towards the top of your mat. Hold the bridge pose and keep dragging the feet back towards you. This will engage the hamstrings more. Take one more big breath. Lower down. From here, bring the feet to the edges of your mat and take the knees from left to right. Come back to bridge pose. Extend the right leg straight up to the ceiling. Press into the left foot to lift the hips up. Hold here. Think of dragging the left foot back towards you, towards the back of your mat. Lift the hips up higher. Extend the right leg a little bit straighter if you can. One more big breath. Lower the right foot down, lift the hips up higher, and lower the hips all the way down. Bring the feet to the edges of your mat, and take the knees from left to right. Bring the feet to hip distance apart. Once again, bridge pose. Lifting the left leg up, right foot is planted. Press into the sole of the right foot to lift the hips up high. Think of dragging the right foot back towards the back of your mat. Lift the left leg up higher, straightening the left knee if you can. Lift both hips higher. One more big breath. Plant the left foot down, lift the hips up higher, drag the feet to the back of your mat. Lower down. Right from here, lift up to bridge pose and start to walk your feet out towards the top of your mat. Working towards straighter legs. Lift the hips up higher, walk the feet back in to the starting position. Lift the hips up higher, and here we go again. Walk your feet out towards the top of your mat. Working the legs towards straight. Lift the hips up higher, walk your feet back in. Lift the hips up higher towards the sky. Walk your feet out bit by bit towards the top of your mat. Lift the hips up higher. Walk your feet back into original bridge pose. Lift up, and one more time here. Walk your feet out. Lift the hips up higher. Walk your feet in. Once you get there, lift the hips up higher. Release. Relax all the way back down to the mat. Take one big breath here, in and out through the nose. From here, come into that long bridge, but the hips will stay down on the mat, so just bring your feet towards the top of your mat. Legs are slightly bent. If you're looking for more of a challenge, you'll straighten out your legs more. Less of a challenge, the legs will be more bent. So it's completely up to you. When you're ready, press into the heels and lift the hips up off of the mat. Try not to use your arms or your shoulders to lift your hips up. So we can cheat in this pose by pressing down into the shoulders, into the upper back, and the arms to lift up. Just use the hamstrings, the back of your legs. Press into the heels to lift yourself up. Holding here for just a little bit longer. Lower down. We'll do that one more time, but first take some time to rest. Knees are bent, knees towards the ceiling, soles of the feet are planted down, and just breathe here. Come back into your long bridge position with the hips down onto the mat. Once again, more of a challenge, your legs will be more straight. Less of a challenge, your legs will be more bent. When you're ready, press into the heels, lift your hips up. Holding here for about 5 breaths. Think of dragging your heels back towards the back of your mat. Three more breaths here. One last breath. Lower the hips down, hug your knees into your chest, arms wrap around the legs. Bring your feet up towards the ceiling and just straighten and bend your knees. Notice how the hamstrings are feeling. And then hug the knees back in, arms wrap around the knees. And come to a tabletop position on all fours. From here, right away, let's come to downward facing dog. So fingers are spread nice and far apart. Tuck your toes under, lift the hips up and back, down dog. Lift your right leg up high to the sky, 3-legged dog. Inhale here. Exhale, lower down in line with the left foot. Inhale, lift. Exhale to lower in line with the left foot. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Continue just like this. And if you can't lift your right leg as high, that is okay too. Link breath to movements. Make sure your fingers are spread nice and far apart. Hips are high. Gaze is back towards your feet. Let's do about 5 more. Two more. Good. Set the right foot down. Shift forwards to plank. Lower down to your belly. And from here, bring one hand over top of the other. Rest your head down onto your hands. And just start to bend and then extend your knees. From here, extend or straighten your knees and lift both legs up off of the ground. Hold here. Lift your chest, your head, and your arms up off of the ground as well, and hold. Make sure as we hold the pose, you are not holding your breath. Allow the breath to continue to flow easily and effortlessly in and out of your nose or your mouth, whatever feels better for you. Just a little bit longer. Good, lower down. Keep your head resting on your hands and lift and lower your legs. Legs are straight. Two more. Good, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, lift up to a plank. Come back to downward facing dog. Lift your left leg high to the sky, inhale. Exhale, lower it in line with your right foot. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Lift and lower. Continue like this. We have about 15 of these. Let's do 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set the left foot down, downward facing dog, and from here, without bending your knees, step by step, make your way to the top of your mat, taking very small steps, thinking of lifting the femur, the thigh bone, up into the hip socket. So straight legs, take your time, using your hamstrings to make your way there. This is all coming from your hamstrings, the back of your legs. Take as much time as you need to, and then we'll meet in a forward fold. You can bring opposite hand to opposite elbow, dangle your head. From here, plant your hands down, step back to plank, downward facing dog. Let's do that again. Step by step, bring the femur up into the hip socket. Take your time to make your way up to the top of your mat with straight legs, lifting the leg up and then forward without bending your knees. Think of moving very methodically here. From here, come into a ragdoll. You can come into whatever position you like with your hands. Maybe hands down to the mat, somewhere's on your legs or feet, or opposite hand, opposite elbow. Plant your hands down, step back to plank, come back to down dog. One more time. Make your way to the top of your mat, moving slowly, lifting the thigh up into the hip socket, and then stepping your way forward, feeling this a lot in the hamstrings. Fingers are spread nice and far apart, and then once you get there, come into a forward fold. You can allow the knees to bend in your forward fold as much as you need to. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands come to the shins, gaze forward. Find a nice long spine. Plant the hands, step back to plank. Come back to downward facing dog. From down dog, shift forward to plank. Lift the right leg up in your plank. Lower it down, left leg lifts up, leg is straight, lower it down, right leg, left leg. You'll feel this in your glutes and your hamstrings. Just keep switching from side to side. Look out in front of you, about a foot or two in front. One more on each side. Shift back, downward facing dog. Step your right foot through between your hands. Bring your left foot, your back foot, a little bit closer towards the top of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips and come up to stand. Legs are straight. Bring your hands to heart center. Your right foot is facing forward, left foot is facing the top left corner of your mat. Inhale, find length through the spine, and exhale to fold over the right thigh. Inhale, come back up to stand, nice and tall. Exhale to fold over the thigh. Inhale, come up. Exhale to fold down over the thigh. Continue like this moving as quickly or as slowly as you like. Make sure that you are not hyperextending your knees, so you do have a slight bend in each of your knees here. Try to find even more length, even more space in between each of the vertebrae of your spine. And also think of, if you can, bring your right hip back and your left hip forward a little bit to square off the hips. Let's do one more. Lower down. Inhale, come back up. Bring the hands down to your mat to frame the right foot. Step it back to plank. Downward facing dog. Lift the hips up and back. Step the left foot forward in between the hands. Step the right foot a little bit closer towards the top of your mat. Hands come to heart center, straighten the legs. Send the left hip back, right hip forward to square off your hips. Hands to heart center, inhale, find length. Exhale to fold. Have a slight bend in each of your knees so you are not locking out your knees. Reach the crown of your head forward as you come down. Reach the head up as you lift up. Take your time, or if you would like to move quicker, that is always an option as well. But work with your breath. Link the movement to your breath. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. Let's do two more. Good, bring your hands down to the mat on either side of the left foot. Step it back to plank. Come back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, come to plank. Lift your right leg up, lower it down, left leg up, lower it down. You don't have to lift your leg too high. Just find some engagement and some strength in your glutes and your hamstrings. Keep everything else in your body steady and stable in your plank. Shift back now, downward facing dog. Shift forward to plank, lower down to your belly. Bring one hand over top of the other, rest your head down onto your hands. Lift and lower your legs. Legs are straight, up and down. Halfway there, keep going. Five more. Last two. Good, last one. Release the legs down. Keep the head resting down onto the hands and just take a couple of big breaths in and out. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders, toes tuck under, lift up through a plank, come back to downward facing dog. Step your right foot through in between your hands. Bring both feet so they are parallel to the short edges of your mat. Coming into a wide-legged forward fold, tent up onto your fingertips and find a nice long spine. Gaze is forward. Bring your hands to heart center. Release. And start to walk your hands out in front, coming into a variation of downward facing dog. You can walk your hands as far out in front as feels good for you. Notice how this is very similar to downward facing dog, only now our feet are really wide apart. Fingers are spread far apart as well. The head just rests in between the arms. One more big breath. Walk your hands back in towards your feet, to your mat, and then walk them to your right foot, framing your right foot. Step it back to plank, come back to downward facing dog. From here, take those steps up to the top of your mat without bending your knees. So bring the thigh up into the hip socket. Lift the leg up as high as you can without bending your knee or lifting the leg back behind you. Stepping the feet forward, take your time. From here, bring your hands to your hips and come up to stand. Coming into a warrior three, hold on the right side. So hands come to heart center, standing on the right leg, lifting the left foot up and hinging forward from the hips, bringing the left leg so it is about parallel to the ground. Lifting the left leg up just a little bit higher, lifting the chest up higher as well. Thinking of coming into cobra pose. A little bit of a back bend, a baby back bend. Super stable and steady through the right foot. If you lose your balance, that is okay. Just come right back into it when you can. One more breath. Release, come to standing. Let's do that on the other side. Stand on your left foot. Right foot will lift up. When you're ready, hinge forward from the hips. Allow your spine to be parallel to the ground. Lift up through your chest. Come into a baby back bend here. Look forward. And breathe. Just one more breath. Come up to stand. From here, inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale to fold down over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift, strengthen out your legs. Plant your hands down, step back to plank. Lift your right leg up, and then your left. We have about 10 of these total, so 5 on each side. We're already halfway there. Just 2 more. Send your hips back, downward facing dog. Set your knees down to the ground. Come to a seat with your legs extended out in front of you. Bring your hands onto your thighs. Think of having really good posture here. Shoulders are stacked over your hips. Crown of the head is lifting up to the ceiling. Engage your legs as much as you can. With your hands on your thighs, feel your legs and your thighs engage and activate. Toes lift up towards the ceiling. One more big breath. Bring your hands behind you, about a foot behind your hips. Fingers can face forward to the side or back, it's up to you. Try to bring your toes down to the ground if you can, as you press into your heels and into your hands. Fingers are spread wide apart. Lift your hips up. Look up towards the ceiling. Lower down. Good. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Let's continue. Find a little flow with this. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. 3 more. 2 more. Last one here. Good. Come to a cross-legged seated position. Sit up nice and tall. And then walk your hands out in front, coming into a little forward fold. Take one more breath. Walk your hands back in towards your body, back to center. And come to lie all the way back down onto your back. Bring the soles of your feet together, knees out apart, coming into bound angle, lying down on our back. Supta Baddha Konasana. You can bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. And it's okay if your knees are lifted up high. If your hips aren't too open, that is what will happen. Just stay in the pose as much as you can. Just one more breath. Release, extend your legs long towards the top of your mat. Reach your arms up overhead, interlacing your fingers together. Take a big stretch. And then release, come into Shavasana. Take up lots of space on your mat. Allow everything, every part of your body to soften and relax down. Feel your mat supporting you. Notice how your hamstrings are feeling right now. Become aware of how you are feeling in this moment. Mentally, emotionally, physically. Whatever is coming up for you is okay. There's no right or wrong way to feel. There's no right or wrong way that your hamstrings should feel right now. Let go and release of any holding, any gripping, any tension in your jaw, in your forehead, in your hands, in your feet, or wherever else in your body. Thank you so much for joining me for practice today. Feel free to rest in your Shavasana for as long as you would like, coming out of it only when you feel ready. If you enjoyed this practice, it would mean a lot to me if you left a comment, if you subscribe to my channel, and if you hit the like button. I really appreciate all of these things. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.